back, everybody. We just had the quickest sound check in the history of Amerivox. Thank you very much for our amazing interpreters' work here. We are burning rubber, ladies and gentlemen. All right, next presentation is by our beautiful, our amazing Claudine Carpenter, who is going to get very personal today. She is going to be talking about conspiracy theories for dummies and coping with family in the age of COVID. And of course, I had her bio right here and then I lost it. Okay. Claudine was born in France a few decades ago, the number of which she refuses to disclose, and was brought up in the UK. She has a modern languages degree from a Scottish university. And after she got that one, she moved to Spain and then France, and then worked as an English as a second language teacher and as a secondary school teacher. So she's been in the trenches, people. She's seen some stuff. She then obtained a diploma in conference interpreting in a Parisian school and has been working in the private market in Paris since 2011. She currently lives, say it right, Daniel, in Saint Maur de Fossés with her teenage daughter, three color cats, and 4 kittens. She would like to make everybody know that the kittens all have good homes waiting for them. So please don't ask her to donate the kittens. We all know how cute they are, but they're not up for grabs. Her hobbies, that's cute. She included hobbies in her bio. She is amazing. Her hobbies include reading, running, writing, and cooking. Unfortunately, because she is working today, Claudine could not be with us in person, but she is here in spirit, and she will be here also in video. I'm about to share a video of her presentation, and it is a doozy. So, Claudine, in a second.
Good afternoon or good morning, dear Amerivoxers. So my name's Claudine, and I'm here to give you a pre-recorded speech because unfortunately I can't make it this Saturday. So I'm going to talk about conspiracy theorists for dummies, or what can you do when your whole family goes bananas over COVID? Unfortunately, it is linked to personal experience. Conspiracy theorists really came out of a woodwork during the COVID pandemic, didn't they? I mean, you know, it was the neighbor who was telling you that the virus was created in a lab in Sichuan, or the old university friend who was anti-vax because they implant a chip when they vaccinate you, of course, or just the woman on the bus who says that Bill Gates behind it all. I mean, usually when you hear that kind of stuff, you shrug it off, you know, you just think, oh, loonies, and it's fine. But it gets harder when it's someone close, a sibling, parent, an aunt, cousin, or even a spouse. It's really hard when it's someone you regularly engage with and with whom you want to continue engaging. You know, it's these people who explain that there's no pandemic whatsoever, that 6,274,323 deaths that were posted on a WHO website last Sunday, well, it's just a lie, basically, or a gross exaggeration. or COVID was invented in a lab, and COVID is, well, part of the young leaders of the world's great plot. I don't know if you know what the young leaders are. I mean, okay, this is really a thing. It's young liberal leaders like, well, Macron, Trudeau, Arden, who got together to plot. I mean, Bojo and Biden are not young enough or hip enough to join the club, but they got together to plot for the collapse of civilization, to prepare a collapse of civilization in order to initiate something which is called Great Reboot, I think. And then, you know, these family members explain how they're stockpiling food, picking up, building making a kitchen garden. They're buying attack dogs and learning to shoot because they're preparing for the chaos that will ensue once the vaccinated zombie sheeps, as they say, realize that supermarket shelves are empty and they're really, really hungry and they just go on a rampage. And you know what? You ought to be doing exactly the same as they are. I'm exaggerating it, but just a tad, you know. So what can you do to help? I mean, it's hard. It really is. I tried telling them to, well, read the news, trust the authorities. I tried to talk sense into them. It was useless. Okay. In my family's defense, they all voted Brexit because the Daily Mail told them to. And they only realized after they'd voted leave that, well, the EU didn't really write laws on the size and shapes of bananas, or not only on the size and shapes of bananas. They feel pretty stupid and they don't really trust the press or the media. So yeah, talking sense into them is pointless. Then another thing you shouldn't do, you really shouldn't, however tempting, is send these people a tinfoil hat emoji. Trust me, I tried. It's not a good idea. Well, anyway, I needed help and I decided to do a little research. So to understand conspiracy theorists, you need to know who they are exactly. You need to forget the stereotype of the angry white man who's sitting behind his computer, surfing the dark web, looking at conspiracy theories. Those are incels. There may be a little overlap, but not necessarily. Conspiracy theorists basically come in all shapes, sizes, and genders. Surveys show that nowadays around 20% of the population espouses some form of conspiracy theory. 50% of them are men, the other 50 are women, or at least that's what the figures show. About half of them are rural and the other half are urban. The only differentiating factor is education. 25% of all people who believe in conspiracy theories have no diploma whatsoever. Only 13% of them have a university degree. Their age range as well. I mean, they're usually aged between 25 and 44. The conspiracy theorists I'm talking about are COVID deniers, as you may have realized. So they never really respected the sanitary measures, and obviously they're anti-vax. They will not have that vaccine. They're not all raging flat earthers, you know, they don't all think that 5G will give you cancer, or that Princess Diana was bumped off by Queen Elizabeth II. No, in fact, the huge figures, the huge figure I just gave you, the 1 in 5 figure, is due to the pandemic and lockdown. It's the expression of a form of extreme emotional distress. Let's be honest, the pandemic and lockdown was a very worrying time. It still is extremely worrying. And it had some negative impacts on everyone's mental health. We all know that anxiety in teens has shot up since 2020. And well, to give you a personal example, in my household, well, one of my cats, Coco Chanel, She basically, well, scratched the bottom off some velvet antique chairs I had because she was so stressed about us being locked in with her. And I'm not going to go into my family members' mental state because it wasn't pretty, nor was mine actually. But anyway, during lockdown, some people tried to cut themselves off from reality. They stopped believing in reality because reality was terrifying. And the easiest thing to do was to deny the existence of COVID and how dangerous COVID actually is. There's also the social aspect. During lockdown, people were isolated. They couldn't meet with their friends and families. So they looked for replacement social circles or families, and leaders of extremist groups were just waiting for that. They seized the opportunity of lockdown to recruit new members. They offered, well, a social circle of sorts, and even sometimes a replacement family. People in these extreme groups were brought together by common beliefs and hobbies, like demonstrating, for example, which is one explanation. And another reason for which people denied the existence of COVID and still do is that the scientific message was not consistent. We all saw it in the press. One day, masks cannot help you fight the virus. They're totally useless. The next, they're compulsory in all public spaces. Vaccines, well, they told everyone to use vaccine A, let's say, and then stopped inoculating people with it because it had terrible secondary effects. I mean, this is scientific shilly-shallying, this to and fro. I mean, it's nothing new. It's part of a scientific approach. Science moves forwards thanks to experiments, thanks to mistakes, thanks to disagreement and contradiction. That's how scientific knowledge progresses. But in normal times, the public never sees the scientific community disagree or go back on what it said the day before. But here we saw it, well, very closely and in real time. So basically, people lost faith in science because they thought that science was all powerful and detained the ultimate truth. And they totally rejected all scientific discourse. They were decided to subscribe to parallel discourses because it gave them the impression that they were thinking for themselves. They weren't letting themselves be manipulated by those experts. And it gave them the feeling that they were in control after their life had been turned upside down by COVID. Brain chemistry now. I mean, COVID conspiracy theories are quite simple, or at least far more simple than complex medical reports. They're easy to understand, and that's quite pleasant when you're under stress. Basically, COVID conspiracy theories are junk food for your brain. And, well, just like you need to educate your palate to enjoy broccoli more than chocolate, you need to teach your brain to enjoy thinking, to discern, to think critically. You need to teach your brain to sort the wheat from the chaff when it comes to scientific theories and conspiracy theories. Education helps. That's why very few people who espouse conspiracy theorists are educated, have a degree, but not necessarily. Just like someone who eats healthily, I eat quite healthily, but sometimes when I have a very stressful day, well, I'll just eat a chocolate bar or a pack of crisps. It's the same. And well, fake news creators are very good. They're very good at producing titillating headlines that bait you into clicking on the article, and the content of the article, well, basically goes directly in the same direction. It goes in the same direction as your intuition. It's easier to believe, it's easy to believe, unlike what we are told in government websites or the press. No, conspiracy theorist articles, basically they tell you what you want to hear and they activate the pleasure centers in your brain, just like a Mars bar does. And we all know this, or maybe you don't know this, but fake news spreads a lot faster than real news, 6 times faster. Now let's move on to a final reason for which conspiracy theories were so popular. It's algorithms. How do conspiracy theories spread because of algorithms? We've all seen this when we browse online. I mean, you know, as my aunt told her husband the other day over breakfast, God, you research undetectable poisons online once and you're spammed with ads forevermore. I mean, okay, that's online shopping, but it's the same when you do research. The search engines record, remember, your previous search, and if you go onto a website that actually talks about marginal ideas, actually has marginal ideas, well, the next time you go online, you'll find more websites that give you exactly the same ideas. The consequence of this is that your intellectual universe starts shrinking because you get more and more access to articles that confirm what you've thought at first. Is what we call confirmation bias. You're not faced with dissenting opinions. And well, the internet becomes an echo chamber for your worst fears. All that is quite terrifying. So how can you help? What can you do when someone you love is into conspiracy theorists? It's extremely difficult, very painful when a brother or a sister or a parent starts telling you that COVID is actually viral warfare. You don't understand at first. You think it's a joke. And it's very frustrating when you try and talk sense into the person because they just won't listen to you and you may get angry and you want to cut off all ties with this person. But it's best actually to stay in contact with them as much as possible, because if you drop them, they'll just go into it deeper. Don't try and reason with them, but stay in touch. Keep up a conversation on less sensitive issues. The feelings you have on the pandemic, for example, work issues, children, common memories as well. Anything apart from conspiracy theories. It's easier said than done, but you really need to try and separate the person from the ideas. You need to show interest in them, even if you don't share their ideas, or I hope you don't. It's hard work, but it is worthwhile because one day we'll be out of this pandemic. Normal social relationships will pick up again. And most people who are currently espousing conspiracy theories will no longer need those insane theories to function. So hopefully it's just temporary and linked to the current feelings of frustration and vulnerability because of COVID. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed my speech.